The remains of time. Should have a look around.
Thus did Melinoe, the underworld's vengeful daughter, cross the deepest reaches of her realm to thwart her ancient, hateful foe. The Titan Kronos. Time itself, and time supposedly cannot be stopped. A claim the princess has her reasons to dispute. Hers is a tale that shall withstand time, yet it requires time as well. For now, a cruelly abrupt end shall have to do.
No! Return to Shadow now. How could you be so cruel?
A bit too close. Golden apple.
Thus, having overcome the fate-wrought curse confining her to the underworld, the Princess of the Dead ventured out onto the surface realm. Her aim, to reach the mountain of the gods, and there disrupt the massing forces of their crafty foe. Much more's to be told of that in due course, but let us say, for now, she ran into some difficulties here and there.
No! Return to Shadow now.
Just as the princess walks defiantly away, something begins to slightly stir behind her. Is it the Titan Kronos? Scythe in hand. Oh gods, Melinoe, watch out!
Return to Shadow now.
Only after all of that did normally diligent Melinoe discover she forgot something at home. Forgot her keys. So she turned toward the darkness, and she said,
Return to Shadow now.
Returned now to her long-abandoned home, fearsome Melinoe there finds too many curiosities. A leading cause of death for cats. And she likes cats, so exercises prudence and restraint.
Return to Shadow now.
So lifelike was the nightmare tormenting the Princess of the Dead that she was very much surprised to learn that it was all a dream. Merely a dream, from which she shall awaken any moment now.
Return to Shadow now.
Imagine now a tale which has such an epic scope that the conclusion to the whole affair is nowhere to be found. For each great challenge that the heroine surmounts, another slightly different one awaits.
Return to Shadow now.
That was the last we ever heard of the princess. Her tale was forgotten, it is true. Yet were it not for her great sacrifices, none of us would be here now, would we?
Return to Shadow now.
Thus, having satisfied her heart's desire, the princess felt such jubilation that she burst into a mirthful dance. And so infectious was this celebration that her friends as well as foes all soon joined in.
No! Return to Shadow now.
With the forces of her enemy in ruin at her fiery feet, Princess Melinoe decided to return whence she came, for she could always devastate them more some other night.
You! Return to Shadow now.
Vanquished only for the moment, scheming Kronos cannot be so easily destroyed. Yet in her every fleeting victory against him, fierce Melinoe recovers something she thought lost.
I still remember flashes of this place.
Seek not to know what happened to the terrifying princess of the underworld. The time shall come when all shall be made clear.
No!
Thus, the ever-ready princess of the underworld gained the very heights of Mount Olympus to confront an unspeakable horror that awaits. So unspeakable is that horror that it cannot adequately be described, nor even shown. At least not at this time. All that it offers now is a deep sense of dread, and swift return from whence the princess came.
What?
As time cannot be stopped, neither can the quite relentless princess of the underworld. Her cathartic vengeance surely is at hand.
No! Return to Shadow now.
Thenceforth, all of the effort and hard work put in by studious Melinoe converted to a suitable reward. A life of pleasure and of luxury, perhaps. For what is life, if not completely fair?
What? Return to Shadow now.
So numerous are the travails of dread Melinoe that one can scarce begin to fathom them. But on some evening, fathom them we shall.
No!
One step closer comes the surface-seeking princess to Olympus and the gods. Yet certain other steps remain ere her tale here is to unfold in full. As saffron-veiled Melinoe long bided her time, so too must wait a little longer those desirous of the details of her glorious revenge.
In shadow I serve.
The underworld's guardian Melinoe belongs not high above the surface, but below. Thus, having taken care of family business for the night, she vanishes before the break of dawn.
No!
From the summit of Olympus, Titan-slaying witch Melinoe regards the world to which the gods lay claim, and she decides this precious world which we all share is perfect, just the way it is.
No!
What then became of sorceress Melinoe, you ask? This I would surely tell you if I could. Alas, that for the moment, I cannot. Time, perhaps, cannot be stopped. And yet with patience, time can be withstood. What do you say we try withstanding for a while?
No! Return to Shadow now.
Once fearsome witch Melinoe surpasses all the many foes standing between her and the summit of Olympus. A most extraordinary thing occurs. But all those in attendance made a promise not to tell a soul.
Return to Shadow now.
The heights of Mount Olympus loom so close, and yet the surface-scouring princess can go no closer for the moment, although it never hurts to try.
No! Return to Shadow now.
Such unimaginable sights await the surface-voyaging princess as she ascends the heights of Mount Olympus that, to our mortal minds and senses, why, they simply cannot be described.
How? Return to Shadow now.
The summit of Olympus is a hallowed yet precarious locale, and so the underworld princess, unaccustomed to such rarefied terrain, decides to take the last leg of her journey very, very slow.
Return to Shadow now.
Night-wandering Melinoe by now has traveled very far indeed, accomplishing her goal such as she can. Strangely enough, however, her return trip truly takes no time at all.
You! Return to Shadow now.
To feel again the stable earth beneath her feet replenishes within the princess of the underworld her nearly limitless resolve, as her objective finally draws near.
Mount Olympus. There it is ahead.
And so, under the watchful eye of night, unseen Melinoe gains the very top of Mount Olympus, where such revelry occurs that subsequent events this night are rather murky still.
No! Return to shadow now.
The sheer wrath of fire-tempered witch Melinoe is such that to describe how she confronted her remaining prey would be to sorely limit the appeal of this tale.
How? Return to shadow now.
So incomparable is the tale of the princess of the underworld that why I cannot even find the words, though by the gods, eventually, I shall.
Return to shadow now.
Of all great feats achieved by mortals or by gods, the nightmare-bringing princess would achieve perhaps the greatest of them all. It's just, I cannot tell you of it yet.
No! Return to shadow now.
One rightly may imagine that this tale has a very thrilling end, although I'm afraid for now that we are out of time.
No! Return to shadow now.
So far beyond the scope of reasoning were the events that happen next, that committing them to words would be such folly as to not be worthy even of attempt.
Return to shadow now.
Then Titan, vanquishing Melinoe, searches the former house of Hades for a key to victory, though what she finds, or whom, cannot be easily explained, or even shown as yet.
Return to shadow now.
And so, conniving Kronos was never heard from again, and young Melinoe and all her comrades lived happily ever after. Or did they?
No! Return to shadow now.
And ever since that time, the peoples of the surface and the underworld sought to live in peace and harmony, knowing that only together would they make the world a better place.
What? Return to shadow now. Should have a look around.
Having resolved her family's blood feud, now the princess has scarce anything to do except to call this one a night, and on the next, give the rekindled blood feud yet another go.
No!
Surely a pleasant outcome of some sort awaits. Perhaps the princess is invited to a regal ball, and therein meets her heart's desire, all whilst dancing to a catchy tune. The subsequent events were fraught with ambiguity, the tale's theme as obscure as its setting. Whether the princess truly found that which she sought remains contested to this day.
No!
Another victory, and yet an adversary such as time has proven a most stubborn one indeed. If I myself were time, why, I would simply turn back the sundial, assuming that I could, so that this night would never come to pass.
What?
The Dark Princess had always felt a strong connection with the dead, yet never quite knew why. That is until she realized that she was dead herself, and had been all this time.
You...
And after all of that, the Princess of the Dead and all the gods above the surface and below, they set aside their differences, and lived from there on out, contentedly.
How?
Surely from there the Princess of the Underworld vanquished hateful Kronos utterly, restoring peace wherever it was lost, and then lived joyfully for all eternity? The vengeful princess and the hateful Titan fought and fought. That is until the Titan, with the princess at his mercy, took the opportunity to give a speech, during which the princess slew him after all.
No!
With victory at hand, the oft-feared Princess of the Dead achieved her life's ambition and lived happily thenceforth for all eternity. Or so I choose to think.
No! Return to Shadow now.
Thus young and spirited Melinoe found true love, the sport known as the discus throw. And whilst she did not win the championship, she won over our hearts.
You! Return to Shadow now. I vanquished Eris on the surface, but could go no farther from that point. I was nearly at the base of Olympus, yet my path was sealed, like it didn't even exist.
Eris must find all of this delightful, certainly. That pathway wasn't sealed, 'twas a void. No incantation is required, merely patience for the future to unfold.
But Olympus needs us now. My task could ill afford to wait. That's why we started when we did. That's what you said.
Time works in curious ways, Melinoe. That much we have experienced firsthand. Fear not, the path to Olympus shall open. Mortals pray for such outcomes. We but wait.
We but wait.